Abracadabra, alakazam! Where'd it go? Ever since the video has surfaced of the alleged Charlie Kirk shooter jumping off that roof, people have started to question, where's the rifle? I don't see it. All I see is this little black towel right here. Well, I'm going to attempt to prove today the probability that the rifle really was there. We just can't see it due to some issues with the technology in the video that was used. I'm also going to address some questions and comments and concerns from yesterday's video regarding the printing. I realize that this and this are not very good at distinguishing contrast, so I'm going to pull the curtain back here, show you what that looks like. Then going to walk you through how I believe the weapon was assembled in the sniper's perch, the shot was taken, the rifle was collected and disguised inside the towel, and taken to the point where it was found by the police. I'll also address how I believe that the rifle was where it was, and some of the questions people have had about how the images we've seen of the rifle were presented to us, like why was it in a cardboard box if you said it was in the woods? Well, we're going to work our way through that. So stick with me here and let's get to it. Okay, quick heads up. The lav mic that I had plugged in while I was trying to demonstrate this came unplugged, so my audio was not able to be recorded at the time. I'm now just giving you a narration from the editing bay. As you can see me walking around here, I have the barrel and action stashed in my right side, and the stock is in the left side of my torso. They're mounted north to south, stuffed in my armpits, going all the way down through my legs. The barrel is just above my knee, and the stock is ending mid-thigh on my left side. As you turn on the profile to the right, that is the side that is carrying the barrel and the action. You can see a little bit of printing where the scope is by my thumb at the moment. And as I turn, this is the stock side. Now this is the profile that I have proposed as the possible way that the rifle may have been smuggled in to the point where it was assembled and ready to shoot. Next in the video, I'm going to show you what I think happened after the shot and how the rifle came to be in the woods. But right now I'm just going to kind of go over this again so people get a better view without the black background of how the rifle may have appeared. Now I am a significantly more husky gentleman than the individual who is alleged to have taken the shot, and I think that because of that he may have had an easier time smuggling that rifle in. You can see some printing on my left side there. There's the scope. This angle here is leading me to indicate that maybe he did take the scope off, or maybe he did not, but it is a possibility that he may have removed the scope for less printing. Here's a demonstration of what it looked like with me walking. You can see a little bit of printing from the barrel there on my thigh. I think possibly this individual may have used something like an ace bandage to wrap it closer to his thigh, and that would have been something he may have just left on the entire time and took off when he ditched the clothes. You can see the stock printing down here on my left thigh as well. I did try to see if the stock could have been carried vertically across the back, but what I found with my torso length was that either the butt of the stock printed above the bag in my back of my neck, or I had to carry it so low that the stock ended up coming down the bottom and looking like I had a tail. Here's some demonstration of what this looked like from the back, with that slow step trying to keep the barrel from printing. The more I look at this, the more I think that maybe the scope came off, and definitely there was probably some sort of support like an ace bandage used, but time will tell. Still feel like this is in the realm of possibility, however. Here's one more walk across the room. After having walked around this for a while, there's no way in hell he was able to bend over to get to the prone position, so I am taking the rifle barrel and receiver assembly out and the stock out, dropping to the ground, and starting my setup as to how I would have gone about this. Oop, wrong pocket. Okay, here's the towel. And I have proposed that probably this towel is the multi-purpose tool of this whole thing. If I were going to be setting this shot up, especially in the rocks on a roof, I'd definitely want something to lay on. So I've just wrapped up all of the things that are in the official narrative in this towel. We're back on the roof. We've gotten to our sniper hidey hole, and we now have all of the things here in front of me that are in existence in the official narrative. We have the rifle itself and all its components: stock, bolt, magazine well, follower, trigger guard assembly, rifle barrel and Mauser receiver, the screwdriver, 4 rounds of ammunition, a backpack, and a towel. I pulled this out. I couldn't bend down in this position with these pieces in my person, so they had to have come out, set down. He produced the towel. We have everything here. Okay, I'm going to assemble this Mauser into, back into position to be ready to fire. And I'm going to show how quickly and easy this is done because a lot of you didn't see the first video. So, here goes. Rifle is back to the buttstock. Bolt going in. Okay, I have a completed rifle. Now I'm going to load it. This rifle was set up for when my dad was hunting. It's only able to carry 3 rounds in it. Those were the laws where my dad hunted when my dad hunted. So for our purposes, we're only going to put 3 in. His may have been different. That's okay. But we have 4 rounds in existence. I'm now ready to fire. This gun is loaded and it is hot. If I pull the trigger, it's going to go off. So for the rest of our demonstration, I'm going to unload this rifle just for safety's sake, okay? All right, I'm gonna get the rounds out of here so that they don't accidentally get reintroduced into the gun. I'm gonna close it. Now, screwdriver, it's on the ground. The backpack also becomes a tool to be employed in the use of this shot. It now gives us a rest. If we're prone, the thing about distance rifle shooting is not only are you fighting against physics and everything else out there, but you're fighting against yourself. Because if your heart rate's up, it's going to affect the movement you put into the gun. Watch as I breathe. Watch the tip of the muzzle. It moves. It moves, right? Well, you use this rest. You can take some of that out. Instead of having it resting on your hand, now it's on a stable surface. Our guy sees Charlie come out. He waits for him to sit down. This is important. Now he has a stationary target. Charlie Kirk was 6'5". This is not a small target we're aiming at. And our initial reports were that the shot was taken at 200 yards. I pulled the tape from where I think the shot came from. I think it was more like 130. So even if we knocked some of the zero out of the scope and transport, I think the margin of error is well within the ability to put a kill shot into the zone that he was aiming for with no problem. He also could have missed high. He could have been aiming right dead center in Charlie's chest, and the bullet walked up a little bit and took him out in the neck. Either way, with a 30-06 round, anything, pretty much, in this zone here is going to kill you. So, we take the shot. Now, rifle choice comes into play here, and it also tells me more about the character of the individual and how he wants to survive this shooting. The guy in Butler, the nut job, he showed up with an automatic rifle. And when the first shot didn't get the job done, he just started spraying. And I bet that he would have continued to spray until the gun was empty or until somebody ultimately put a bullet in his head like it was done. This guy used a much more accurate rifle with much more power from a safe distance for him to make an exfiltration. Now, why wasn't there a second shot fired? Simple. The first shot did the job. His target was down, and whether he died instantly or he died 30 minutes later, Charlie Kirk was not going to survive that shot. If you want to learn more about long-distance shooting with bolt-action rifles, go read Marine Sniper, the story of Carlos Hathcock, who was the greatest American sniper before Chris Kyle came along. Carlos Hathcock stalked the jungles of Vietnam with a Winchester 70 rifle, chambered in .30-06, and made shots well over 1,000 yards to dispatch men. Now, why didn't he put another round in the chamber? Well, A, the job was done, or B, anybody remember Red Dawn? I'm not talking about the Hemsworth one, I'm talking about the original classic. There's a line in there.
Never shoot twice.
Why?
If you shoot twice, they can find you. I used to read a lot about Jedediah Smith and Jim Bridger. And the Blackfeet, if you shot twice, would know right where you were.
Yeah. He didn't want to take a second shot and give 3,000 people the opportunity to see where he took the shot from. This man wanted to exfiltrate this and go back on with the rest of his life, not spent in prison or anything else. So, there was an empty round in the chamber. There's no need to cycle the bolt after you're done. And because this is a bolt-action rifle, to remove a spent round from the chamber, you have to cycle the bolt. Now, like a lot of professional snipers, like the people that are trained in sniper tradecraft won't automatically cycle a bolt right afterwards. Why? Because this motion can give you away. That being said, why didn't he dump the rifle? Well, you still, when you're trying to get away from the scene of the crime, don't want to leave any evidence. And this man was not a stupid man. He just, well, we'll get to why the rifle was reffed in a minute. So, what happens after the shot? We see in the video that the timestamp is somewhere around 12:23 and 40-some seconds. I don't believe that's enough time to want to take this rifle apart and disappear. Plus, if I've got a head start on somebody who's going to be coming after me, I'm not going to give them more time to catch up to me by putting this rifle back together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this rifle as concealable as possible with what I have around me. So, I'm going to take the shot, kick the backpack out of the way, slide the rifle down, move out of the way. Take the towel, wrap the rifle in the towel. Okay, grab the rifle, grab my backpack, and I'm gone. Now in doing so, he left the screwdriver. The DNA evidence that we're gonna find, or we have found off the screwdriver, is now matching what's found on the rifle. More on that later. But now I'm gonna show you how this right here made the rifle disappear. I'm back. Now, if you've noticed the wardrobe change, good job for being observant. And if you're wondering why, I used the black t-shirt because it was, I believe, a better fit to illustrate how this stuff would fit underneath a t-shirt. And because I live in Arizona, I am not an idiot and I don't own any long sleeve black t-shirts because that would be suicide being outside all day in one. So I grabbed a dress shirt because for this portion, I think it's more important to illustrate the impact of dark sleeves. Now, this was a quick wrap. You can see it's kind of loose, but the whole idea behind this is he's trying to make this rifle not look like a rifle, okay? Now, I've heard people talk about, well, if you're running with a rifle, you're gonna carry it like this. And that may be so if you're running in battle or to battle and you're already a known target to someone to shoot at, you really don't give a shit, you're gonna run in the most efficient way. But think about it like this, you ever walked in and your kid had something that they didn't want you to see? They're gonna keep it as close to their body and disguised as possible. And I think that that was the reason for the towel being around the rifle. And as you can see, unless you take the time to tape it up, it's gonna wave around and flap around and do this, okay? And if you see in the video, as he's running, you can kind of make out that his hands are kind of struggling with it over here as he's going along. Okay, you're seeing it waving. He's trying to get control of it and get it close to his body, because the people in the video that you're seeing around him that close to the time of the shooting don't really know what's going on. They may have heard a noise, but also they were at a rally for a man whose crowd would like to cheer for them, and when reactions happen, the noise would go up. So the screaming or that you might have thought was just exultation from people being excited about what was being said at the rally. You could have, one single shot, yeah, that was loud, but God, was that a car backfiring somewhere? Was that somebody dropping something? You just don't know. Was it a car collision somewhere? So I think the idea behind the towel was to aid in his exfiltration, because I have something here, but you don't know what I really have that I'm hanging on to. Okay? Could be my guitar, I don't know, anything. So that was the idea behind the towel. And this is where he went to try to make this thing disappear during his exfiltration. Now, why didn't we see it in the video? Well, I'm gonna go walk through that and try to explain that to you by setting up some of my cameras in a way that I believe that particular security camera might have been set up. And I'm gonna walk through I'm just gonna kind of mimic those moments with that camera, with that resolution and that frame rate that I believe that we saw, and try to see how they compare side to side. And fortunately, I have a 3-story office building with a vacant dirt lot next door, so I can get the angles kind of close, and I'll use what I can measure from the maps as far as the distance to try to mimic that, and then we'll go back to my desk and we'll kind of punch in on it. Now, I am not gonna take this rifle outside. I work in an urban office area. I don't want to have to explain to the police with a weapon in my hand what the hell I'm doing. So I'm going to get the closest thing I can to it. And that's going to be this tripod, okay? They're roughly about the same size as the mass. The tripod's also black. I'm going to go ahead and try to maybe wrap this handle down with some black tape to give it a solid profile so we aren't worrying about gaps coming through with light affecting everything. And I'm gonna set the length of the rod on the end to be as close to the barrel as I can. I'm gonna wrap this tip in black tape too to obscure it. But as you can see, I'm gonna use a rod that is roughly the same diameter as the barrel. And if he's running, the barrel's gonna be the part that's probably hanging, because if you've got this tucked in under your arm as you're running, the end's gonna be the part that's hanging down, okay? And I'm gonna mimic a couple of those motions. The other thing I wanted to show as proof was the frame where you see the towel go flat and it's hanging and suspended. You've gotta use your common human instinct to understand how that proves maybe not the existence of the rifle, but the existence that this towel was draped over something. When you see him go to set whatever it is that's in this towel down on the roof, he uses 2 hands to do so, okay? He sets it down with 2 hands, not with 1 hand. He wants to preserve this wrap as much as he can as he's climbing down. Now, if you're gonna set a towel down in preparation for climbing down a roof, you're probably not gonna take the time to use both hands and pull it and set it down. You're gonna drop it. Same thing with your bag. If you're gonna take the bag off, we know he left the bag on, but some people have said maybe the rifle was in a bag. To set a bag down, I'm not gonna take 2 hands and drop my bag. I'm gonna pull it off and I'm gonna drop it, okay? That is proof to me of the possibility of the rifle being there. It is not definitive proof that the rifle was there, but to me, in my mind, it tells me that he has something wrapped in that towel that he wants to be preserved in the towel when he sets it down. There's also a moment that you see in the video when he climbs off the roof. The towel comes up like this, straight. And there is enough of an indication that there is something resembling a rifle wrapped in the towel for me to say that this is not proof that the narrative is true, the possibility of the proof that the narrative is true. There's something in this towel. This towel is not on its own just being waved around willy-nilly. All right, I'm outside in a vacant lot behind our office, and I have my simulated firearm and my towel. I've calculated the distance that it took. The video was taken from. I've tried to adjust for anything I can, but realistically, this is just going to be a study on if I can get the artifacting in the video that I'm going to shoot similar to the video we've seen. And I don't know what the type of camera was. I've went through the FBI's video, and I've concluded that the frame rate that we're seeing is somewhere between 7 or 8 frames per second. That's what I've set the video camera up in my office to record. And I'm gonna go to the point I've estimated to be that distance here in this lot. I'm gonna try a simulated run back and forth, and then I'm gonna go to a few other distances out, and then I will go ahead and get the hell back in here before some neighbor calls the police on me and I have to have a conversation with Scottsdale PD. So here we go. Out to be the wrap this towel, and I'm going to make as close as I can to how it looked when it came off that roof. It's going to be like this. I'm going to keep it wrapped up as much as I can. All right, so I'm going to pick the rifle up off the ground like he would have and proceed to run about 25, 30 steps that way. I'm gonna keep stepping back until I can do the, get it right, or somebody calls the police on me, all right? Ready? You pick it up. Sucks it up to him. Starts carrying it like this as he's looking around. Direction. I should be stepping my way around here, but I just don't want to be out here any longer than I have to trying to demonstrate this because the police are going to get called. Okay, so I'm going to hold the rifle on the other side of me. That's kind of what we saw, and I'm just going to run with it. Is the muzzle disappearing in the video as I run? Close to my body. Is it disappearing? I don't know. Okay. Do it one more time. I'm gonna wrap it. I'm gonna pick it up, and I'm gonna run. Here, here, here to me. Is it making any difference? I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go inside because I think I've got far enough away to make this work. So I'm gonna get rid of this stick. I'm gonna collapse it in. Just don't want to have that conversation today. So hopefully this was good enough. Whew. All right, I am smoked. It's 8:45 here local. I need to get the hell out of here and go to bed. I just finished up the edit for everything else you've seen before this. I was going to speak to why the rifle ended up in the bushes where it was, and I had something in my mind earlier that maybe the suspect was inside of cover and he needed to move to his vehicle, and he saw that there was a person that could have identified him or saw him get in the vehicle with something that appeared to be a rifle that would then trigger a APB for that vehicle once the shooting had been made aware to the general public and people were coming through with tips. Today, Apparently, while I was out doing all this, the charging documents got released, and there's an exchange in here between the suspect and his boyfriend, and he basically says that he stashed the rifle while he went to go get the car, and he was going to double back to pick the rifle back up. He'd left it wrapped in a towel in the woods, but when he came back to pick the rifle up, there was already law enforcement activity in the area. So he was going to wait it out and hope that they just bypassed it in the search and he would pick it up and retrieve it. It was important for him to want to retrieve it because apparently this was Granddad's gun. So further along in the story here, apparently his father was then asking him, when his father was realizing what was going on, to send him pictures of his gun because he wanted to know that he still had it in his possession. This was, the dad realizing what his son had done and wanted proof, and that was pretty irrefutable proof if the kid couldn't produce a picture right now of the gun, that the gun was probably there. Speaking to the point of why the photos that we've seen, the only photos of the firearm we have seen show it in a box when it was stashed in the woods, and I've got a simple answer for that. Those photos aren't official photos. They were not released officially by the FBI or the State Patrol. They were a leak. Some source gave those photos to a news agency, and a news agency passed those on. So my guess is that the rifle had been picked up by whomever had discovered it and was going to be placed into a box for shipment to the ATF, and either a passerby or a agent who decided to go against all of policy that there ever was been, or a police officer, then leaked those to a news agency in hopes of either notoriety or reward or whatever. But they're very grainy photos. You can't get a lot of detail on it, but it makes perfect sense if you think about it from the standpoint that if they're collecting this evidence, they're going to put it in a box or a bag or something for transport, because as Cash Patel has said, they were cycling assets back and forth. They had shipped this gun off to the ATF lab to have it analyzed, or the FBI's lab, I can't remember which. So you're going to put it in a box to keep it from getting damaged, contaminated by outside factors or environmental factors. And also, if there's something on it that's loose and falls off, it's going to be contained in the box. It's not going to be sitting on the floor of an airplane somewhere or wherever the hell it was. The people at the lab will actually have all of the pieces and the components to put it together. So that's my take on that. If you got any comments, questions, I'd love to hear them. Got any ideas on what we want to do next? Fire away. Have a good night.